Hey everyone, and welcome. Have you ever landed on a website and just thought, wow, this looks amazing, and then wondered how it went from being just a plain document to this incredible interactive experience? Well, the magic behind that is something called CSS, and today we're going to break down exactly what it is and how you can use it. Let's get right into it. So just look at this for a second. On the left, you've got your basic raw HTML. It's the skeleton, right? It has all the content, but that's about it. Now look at the right. It's the exact same content, but it's got style. It has color, a proper layout, it's got some personality. So how do we get from point A to point B? The answer is CSS, Cascading Style Sheets. It's literally the language we use to tell a web browser how to make our stuff look good. All right, to really wrap our heads around this, let's start with the why. Why is CSS so incredibly important for pretty much every single website you've ever visited? Okay, so at its very core, CSS is all about presentation. Think about it like building a house. Your HTML is the foundation and the wooden frame, the walls, the floors, the different rooms. It gives the house its structure. But CSS is the interior designer. It's the paint on the walls, the furniture you choose, how you arrange the rooms. It's everything that turns a structure into a home. And that separation of content from design is absolutely crucial. It keeps everything organized and so much easier to manage. Okay, so we've got the why. We know we need it. Now let's get into the how. How do we actually write this stuff? This is where we learn the fundamental language of styling. It really just boils down to a super simple pattern. First, you pick an HTML element you want to style, say a big heading. Second, you write a CSS rule that targets that element. And that rule is just made of a property, like color, and a value you give it, like blue. And then step 3, the browser just does what you told it to do, and bam, you see the result on the screen. It's a really direct instruction. Hey, browser, find this thing and make it look like this. Simple as that. But wait, how do we find the thing in the first place? Well, we use what are called selectors. You can be really broad and target every single paragraph on the page, or you can get more specific by creating a class to style a whole group of items the same way. For something really unique, you can use an ID to pinpoint just one specific element. And here's a cool one. With pseudo-classes, you can even apply styles based on what the user is doing, like making a button change color when you hover your mouse over it. Now let's talk about maybe one of the single most important ideas in all of CSS, the box model. I'm not kidding. Once you get this, so many layout problems and frustrations just disappear. It's a really simple idea, but it's so powerful. Every single element on your webpage, every heading, every paragraph, every image, is seen by the browser as a perfect rectangular box. That's it. And as soon as you start seeing your webpage not as a document, but as a collection of boxes you can stack and arrange, you unlock the ability to control layouts with precision. And every single one of these boxes has 4 layers. Right in the middle is your content, your text or your picture. Wrapped around that is padding, which is like the empty space inside the box, pushing the content away from the edge. Then you have the border, which is the actual line you can see. And finally, all the way on the outside is the margin. That's the empty space that separates this box from all the other boxes around it. And here's where it all clicks into place. Look at this code. We're directly controlling those layers we just talked about. We use the width property to set the size of the content area. We use padding to create that inner breathing room. We set a border to give it an outline, and we use margin to push other elements away. See? Each line of code maps directly to a layer of the box. That's how we get such precise control. So we can style things, we can control their spacing. That's awesome. But what about building those really complex modern layouts that look great on any device, from a huge monitor to a tiny phone? Well, this is what I like to call the wow factor of modern CSS. Let me introduce you to my friend Flexbox. This is a layout tool in CSS that makes arranging things in a row or in a column just incredibly easy and intuitive. Before Flexbox, trying to get things to line up perfectly and adjust to different screen sizes was, let's just say it was a huge pain. Now it's a fundamental part of CSS that makes our lives as developers so much easier. And just look how easy it is. Seriously, with just 2 lines of code, we tell the container display flex, and then we say justify content space between. We can take a bunch of items and they will automatically spread out to fill the container perfectly. No complicated math, no weird hacks. It's powerful, it's efficient, and it makes what used to be really hard almost effortless. Okay, this looks fantastic on my big desktop screen.
But what happens when someone pulls up our website on their phone? Our beautiful, perfectly spaced layout is suddenly going to look all squished and broken. What do we do?
The answer is something called a media query. You can think of it like an if-then statement for your styles. We're literally telling the browser, hey, if the screen width is 600 pixels or less, then I want you to apply these different styles. So as you can see in the code here, we can tell our items to stop being in a row and instead stack on top of each other in a column. This is the absolute core of what we call responsive design, making our layouts adapt to any device.
Having a great layout is one thing, but what really takes the design from good to great, what makes it feel professional and polished, are those little details like interactivity and subtle animations. We can easily make our designs feel alive using that hover state we talked about earlier. But watch this. Instead of the change being instant and jarring, we add the transition property. This tells the browser, hey, when this change happens, don't just snap to it. Smoothly animate from the old style to the new style. It creates that buttery smooth effect that just feels so satisfying to interact with. So we've gone through the why, the how, the what, and even the wow of CSS. Which brings us to the most important question of all. Now what? How do you actually take all this and get really, really good at it? Honestly, the path to mastering CSS is all about one thing: practice. You have to build stuff. Don't just watch videos or read articles. Build a real portfolio for yourself. Try to copy a website you really like. Jump into online coding challenges. The more you actually write the code and solve real problems, the more all these concepts will become second nature. And here's a little motivation for you. If you practice consistently, you can get a really solid grasp of CSS and be building some seriously impressive websites in just 1 to 3 months. It's an incredibly achievable goal. You can totally do this. So there you have it. We've seen how CSS takes a plain document and turns it into a polished, responsive, and interactive design. We've looked at the basic rules, the box model, flexible layouts, and even animations. The power to design for the web is literally at your fingertips. So the only real question left is, what will you create? For more, be sure to visit our website, Ferris Solution.